Just played my first game of Frostgrave, and I'd like to talk about that. Hey friends, welcome back to Black Magic Craft. It's Tuesday, and that means it's Reviews Day, where I discuss a product, idea, or technique. And today, it's going to be the game of Frostgrave. For those of you unfamiliar, Frostgrave is a tabletop skirmish game in which you use miniatures and terrain of your choosing. It has a fantasy, magical setting, and it includes a campaign element to gameplay. If you run a game of Dungeons and Dragons or something similar, you know that the most challenging thing about that isn't the prep, it's not building the terrain, it's not crafting the story, it's none of that. It's scheduling. It is incredibly difficult to schedule several adults who all have families and lives and kids and jobs and obligations. It's so hard to get them all to pick one night that works for everybody to sit down and play. And this was a problem at my table in my group as well. There were a few of us who wanted to play more often than the rest could. So what we decided to do was pick up some other games that we could play in between on nights when we were free. And at first we actually tried Blackstone Fortress, which is a Warhammer 40k offshoot game. Played 2 games of it and we didn't really like it. I don't want this to turn into a review about that game. Let's just say that we found running the enemies to be such a arduous chore that we just didn't like it. We played 2 games and we stopped. So we picked 2 other games to try out. One was Kill Team, which we've played 1 game of and enjoyed. I'm currently building my Death Guard Kill Team. And Frostgrave. This is the game that I chose, that I convinced my buddies to play. This is a game that I have been wanting to try out for a long time, so I'm really happy that I finally got to do so. Now, Frostgrave is very appealing to me as a D&D player. It has a lot of nice familiarity. It is in a high fantasy kind of setting. It's full of magic and monsters. And you create a warband, but that warband is led by a wizard. And essentially what you're doing is creating a D&D wizard character, complete with choosing spells. And that really clicked. It wasn't just an army with points. You're actually making a wizard character with all these cool abilities at your disposal. And that really clicks for me. In a sense, it's like playing a D&D wizard who also has a bunch of minions. And that's awesome. The other thing that really appeals to me is that the goal of this game isn't simply to fight the other player. It's to collect treasure and loot. And collecting that treasure and loot can make you stronger going into your next game, or the injuries that you suffer can make you weaker. And to me, that sort of cumulative treasure hunting and loot grabbing is one of the big things that I love about games like Dungeons and Dragons. But the nice thing is that this game doesn't require a game master or dungeon master to play. It's just the players. For our first game, we ran through the first scenario laid out in the core rulebook, the Mausoleum. It is essentially a ruined cemetery with a mausoleum in the middle that spews skeletons, and it is a rush from each side for the 2 warbands to collect as much treasure as possible. Now, considering it was only our first time playing, the rules really clicked and they made a lot of sense. It did not take long at all for us to pick up the mechanics. The other player had never even really read the rules too much. I read through them once and I was kind of teaching him as we went, even though I had only read the rules once. But with the quick start guide and the fact that the rules made a lot of sense to people who had played other games like Dungeons and Dragons, made it really easy to pick up. In comparison to when we played Kill Team, I found this to make a lot more sense for me as a D&D player. Now, for somebody that is more familiar with playing games like Warhammer, that may not be the case. But if you're a tabletop RPG player, these mechanics will be familiar and make sense and will not take that long to pick up. The fact that you're controlling a wizard with a variety of spells at your disposal makes for a very dynamic and unpredictable game. Again, unlike a lot of other tabletop skirmish games where it's just shoot, kill, these spells and their various types of effects, some of which permanently affect the board state, really add an interesting element of play that again is very familiar to somebody who's played a lot of D&D. These spells create very interesting encounter scenarios. The inclusion of the world monsters also adds a nice randomness touch to the game. And what I like about it is that it makes the game not just player versus player, it makes the game player versus environment. And that's really cool. It adds this third element to the world that makes it more interesting and unpredictable. And the nice thing is that the way that the monsters are controlled in this game is incredibly simple, unlike a game like Blackstone Fortress where it's kind of a pain in the ass task to figure out what each monster is going to do at each given moment. This is really easy. They move to attack, they attack if they can, they just attack. It's simple, and their stats are very simple, and it's very fluid, and controlling those monsters doesn't slow down gameplay, which is very, very important to maintaining the enjoyment of a game. We only scratched the surface of this game by playing our first scenario, but we could already tell that it was enjoyable and that we're going to continue playing it. And I think that once we play a few sessions and we start to gather loot and build up our warband, it's going to get more and more exciting to play on the hopes of getting some more cool things. So I think this game is going to be a keeper. One thing I really like about it is that for me as a terrain builder, it allows me to use a whole bunch of the terrain that I already have that may not be getting used very often. It's also going to mean that I can build some things that I may normally not be willing to build for D&D, some big detailed set pieces that in D&D might only get 1 or 2 uses, so I'd be reluctant to build it. For Frostgrave, I can use it over and over again in different layouts, so it's going to allow me that freedom to build more crazy detailed things if I'd like. And in fact, I've already started my first Frostgrave project, which you will see on Friday. Another great thing about this game, the thing that I think I fundamentally love the most, is that it's a miniature-based game. You're supposed to use minis for your warband. While there are official Frostgrave minis in existence if you want to buy them, you do not have to use them to play. It specifically says in the core rulebook that you can use whatever minis you want. You can use what you already have. You can buy ones from any manufacturer that you would like. You just need them to represent your warband and you need to know what they're representing. That's it. This game, unlike other games from companies like Games Workshop, is not a pay-to-play game. You're not going to go out and buy the most expensive army and win because of it. You can grab whatever you already have, you could buy whatever minis you want, you could spend as much or as little as you want. And that to me is wonderful. The spirit of that from the game designers is really good. This game is not a game that has been designed specifically to push and sell more miniatures. There's not this crazy rule set where if you go into a game store to play Frostgrave, you're going to get kicked out because you don't have the official Frostgrave miniatures. Try doing that in a GW tournament. It's not going to end well for you. So that I really love and appreciate about this game, and I love that the game designers actually built that right into the rules of the book. Of course, I will be getting my own set of dedicated miniatures that are perfect for my warband. I've already ordered them. I'm going to be doing those up. But for the first game, we just played with random miniatures. I just grabbed stuff I already had on hand. The other player grabbed stuff that he had from his collection, grabbed some terrain off the shelves, and we went to town. And that's great. The only investment we've made in this game is buying this one rule book. And that's all anybody needs to make to play this game. If you already have some miniatures, you don't need to buy any. Or I mean, even if you don't, you can make paper minis and paper terrain. That's all you need. You just need one copy of this book for your whole group. And the book is actually pretty cheap. When I checked today, this book on Amazon.com is currently like $17 US for a hard copy. So 17 bucks and you and a couple of your buddies are ready to play this game. As long as you can be creative and have something to use for terrain, you're good to go. That's incredible. I obviously can't say for sure how this game is going to be after playing it a lot, how we're going to enjoy it over time, but I get the impression that we're going to like it and that it's only going to get better. And I'm really excited to keep playing it and excited to build some stuff for it and excited to have an excuse to build some different things for a different game on this channel. So if you're a Frostgrave player, good news for you. If you want to check this game out for yourself, pick up a rule book. I will put a link to this book on Amazon if you want to pick it up and help the channel out in the process. That'll be an affiliate link. I'll get a small commission, and those commissions help fund these videos and this channel. And I mean, 17 bucks for a hardcover core rule book, that's really, again, that's really good. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. Let me know in the comment section below. Are you a Frostgrave player? Have you been playing a long time? Put in the comments your experiences, the things you love about the game, the thing you don't like about it, and maybe some advice that you would offer any new Frostgrave player like myself as to what could improve or negatively impact the game. Maybe there's some things that you really know will make it better or worse. So I'd love to hear those thoughts, both for myself and for the other viewers. That's it for this Reviews Day Tuesday, guys. I will see you again on Friday for the next crafting video, where I'm right in the middle of building my first big project for Frostgrave. Okay, cheers. See you Friday.